BookTube Nation, I'm Sam here again with A Bear and a Bee Books, and today I have another really exciting video. Today I'm going to discuss with you some recommendations for our upcoming Fairytaleathon. Now, the Fairytaleathon is a readathon that I'm a co-host and co-creator for. I'll go ahead and link down below my announcement video so you can get all the details and see all the wonderful hosts. Definitely go subscribe to all of my teammates. They are amazing and I absolutely love them. Today what I wanted to do is go over the list of challenges and give you recommendations for each and every one. For the Fairytaleathon, there will be 7 challenges. Number 7 is going to be a group book, so I won't have recommendations for that. The first challenge is Modern Myths. Read a fairy tale, whether it's original or retelling, that was published in either 2017 or 2018. And for this, I have 2 recommendations. The first of those is Beauty and the Beast, Lost in a Book. If you follow me on Twitter, you know I'm an absolute Disney lover. I love everything Disney. I go there with my family. I watch the movies. I buy the books. I dress my daughter in their garb. I dress myself in their garb. So I was really excited when the new Beauty and the Beast movie came out a while back, and I did a whole haul about Beauty and the Beast because I was stocking up on retellings and I just really wanted to get into the mood. I'll link that haul down below as well if you want some more Beauty and the Beast recommendations. But for this one today, I wanted to talk about Lost in a Book, and this expands on the Beauty and the Beast world. It is basically a tie-in to the movie. It takes place in an alternative kind of fantasy world, and also within the Beast Castle and a little bit of the library. So I really enjoyed this one. I believe I gave it like a 4 stars. I liked Jennifer Donnelly's writing style and I found it enjoyable. The next one for this I want to recommend is kind of cheating a little bit, but not really. We are definitely involving any folk tales, mythology, like classics, anything like that can definitely count for this readathon. This one came out in 2017. This is Leslie Livingston's The Valiant, and this is based upon, which actually they found some evidence to back up over the past few years, female gladiators. I love anything that takes place in the ancient world. I have an affinity for all ancient mythologies, so I really did enjoy this. If you like strong heroines, if you like books that kind of go on a journey, the first part of this is kind of like a journey type story. There were a lot of parts in this book that made me angry because of what happens to our main character, but overall I found that her strength and perseverance definitely outweighed any of those feelings. So the second challenge I want to go over today is A Tale as Old as Time. This is to reread an old favorite or read a retelling of your favorite fairy tale. And for this one, my recommendation is Mermaid by Carolyn Turgeon. This is a very close retelling to the original tale and Disney adaptation. I thoroughly love this book. When I went and found it out of my collection today and picked it up, I got all these warm fuzzies and remembered reading it. If you watch my channel, you'll know I mention quite frequently that I love anything nautical. I enjoy anything about the sea. Though I'm kind of a novice boater myself, I don't always remember all the terms, but I do enjoy it and find it very whimsical and enjoyable to read about. So I absolutely love this book. If you love Disney's Little Mermaid, if you love the original, I would definitely say pick this up. I have a lot of favorite fairy tales for different reasons, but because of my childhood, I would say The Little Mermaid is probably one of my very favorites. Very favorites? Is that a thing? The third challenge, there's no fairy tale without fae. Read a book with fae or set in the fae world. And for this one, I wanted to do the book I've read by Holly Black. This is The Darkest Part of the Forest. Now, I know she just came out with another new fae book that was very popular at the beginning of this year. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, but I did thoroughly enjoy this one. This is kind of like urban fantasy because it's in our world, but the Fae are in our world and they know. Anyway, what do you call people that live there? It takes place in a small town where the citizens of that town are aware of the Fae, and they just kind of go about their business. They normally don't mess with them. They only mess really with like tourists and stuff like that. This book does have a kind of another storyline running through it that's a little bit darker than that. I liked the way they were tied up in the end. I really enjoyed the relationships in this book. Overall, I found it highly enjoyable and definitely recommend. Okay, so challenge number 4, out your own front door. Read a fairy tale from a heritage outside your own. Okay, so for this one, I also have 2 recommendations. The first one is this one here. This is called Thorn, and this is by Intisar Khanani. And this is a retelling of The Goose Girl, which I believe the original Goose Girl was a Grimm, which makes it German. I haven't read the original, but I did enjoy the writing. I found the pacing to be a little bit slower, but I actually enjoyed that. It really develops the story and you got to know a lot of the side characters as well. I found this really thoroughly enjoyable. It's about Princess Alira, and her identity gets stolen by one of her maids, and it's just about how she goes through those changes and what she does to kind of adjust to her new life. The next book I want to talk about, I'll picture here, is called The Jumbies, and that is by Tracey Baptiste, and this is a Caribbean folklore story, and it's a middle grade, but I found it really enjoyable. It's about a young girl who has lost her mother, and it starts off as they go to the cemetery on a special day to honor the dead, and she lives with her father, and her father have a wonderful relationship. But it's all about these Jumbies, and some children, like herself, mostly believe that they were created by adults to scare kids, but she finds herself running through the forest chasing her mother's necklace one day, and of course it leads on from there. I thoroughly enjoyed this one though. It's a quick read and great, I think, for younger readers, though it does have some kind of spooky parts. There are currently 2 books, I believe, in this series, and after reading the first one, I definitely plan on giving the second one a try. For challenge number 5, it's No Damsels Here. Read a book where a woman saves the day. For this one, I'd like to recommend a duology, and that is both Reign of Shadows, the first book, and the second book, Rise of Fire. I mean, first now, can we just get an appreciation for these covers? I mean, and they're buttery too. I absolutely love them. I love anything that kind of takes nature and flips it on its head. They're so beautiful. So this is a duology that is by Sophie Jordan, and if you haven't read her yet, her writing is it's really fast-paced. It's definitely enjoyable. I find with these, she does some really great she does a really great job with descriptions of setting, which is really important to me as a reader. I really need to find myself immersed in the place to really enjoy a story. So when I find a writer that does setting well, I tend to gravitate towards that. This is based on the Rapunzel fairy tale. It is definitely its own story. I really enjoyed both of them. I think I like the first one a little bit more, but the second one had some really great scenes in it as well. The only thing with the second one that I was kind of a little iffy about was the ending. I wanted more. I felt like it was really kind of like we got to like the last 40 pages and I was like, wait, there's no way this can be done yet. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed the setting. I enjoyed the main character. I enjoyed the world. The main character in here is absolutely wonderful. She is able to overcome adversity. In one of these scenes, I won't go into it too deep because I don't want to have any spoilers, but she goes in and she rescues someone, and it is just absolutely thrilling. She's a character that has a disability. She's able to overcome amazing odds, and what I liked about the way that it was done in here is, like, in the beginning it's discussed, but towards the end it's not even an issue. It just kind of is. Okay, and the final challenge I'd like to talk about today is The Road Not Taken. Read a fairy tale, original or retelling, that's been on your TBR for way too long. This of course can be your ebooks or your physical TBR or your library TBR, wherever you store books that you're interested in reading. Your Goodreads TBR, anything like that is definitely applicable for this challenge. I can't tell you what's been on your TBR too long, but I wanted to show you some of my favorites, and if they are on your list, they're ones I recommend. Tiger Lily, and this is by Jodi Lynn Anderson. I absolutely love finding out more about side characters, especially women's side characters that we don't get a lot from in the original story. And if you love the Peter Pan, the Disney version, we meet Tiger Lily, but we don't get to really know her that well. And this book is all about her, and it's a little dark, it can be sad at points, but it's really memorable. There's one particular scene in here where they're describing like Peter's hideout, and I can still remember in my head feeling like I was walking through that place. So again, the setting's done really well in this. I feel like the story is really strong, and I just love getting the perspective from Tiger Lily. The next one I'd like to mention is Scarlet. And this is by A.C. Gaughen, and this is a trilogy, I believe. I've only read the first one so far, but I do have the second one on my shelves kind of over here that I want to get to soon. But I really enjoyed this one. This is a retelling of Robin Hood. Instead of Will Scarlet, we have a gender flip here. So I really enjoyed this one. I highly recommend it. If you like Robin Hood, check this one out. And finally, probably my favorite retelling that I've actually ever read, which is saying something. I've read quite a few. And you know, it's funny, I've never read the original of this tale, but I just loved this book. Number one, again, can we get some cover appreciation here? I mean, I just look at it and I want to read it again. But this is called Entwined, and this is by Heather Dixion. And this is about the 12 dancing princesses. And this does get a little dark, but it's just beautifully told, beautifully written. Yeah, it's over 450 pages, but this is totally worth it. I was so immersed in the world. I wanted to see what was gonna happen. I was worried about the characters. I was afraid of the villain. And this is one of those cases where, to me, and not any spoilers, but to me, things are always scarier when they're not originally something that you knew was evil. So this is just a beautiful book, and I highly recommend it for the Fairytale readathon. Yeah, like I said, my favorite retelling I've ever read. Okay, and finally I have just a couple more kind of general suggestions for the topic of fairy tale myth and folklore. The first one is Myths and Legends of the Middle Ages. This is one of the ones from the Barnes and Noble collection. Wasn't able to get the sticker off of this one, and it drives me nuts, but anyway, that's okay. I am not including this as part of my recommendations because I haven't read through the whole thing yet, but this would definitely be applicable for the Fairytaleathon, and it just says, glorious tales of bravery and magic, brave-hearted knights, wily animals, fierce monsters, proud lords, doomed lovers, epic quests. These are all part of the stories that make up Myths and Legends of the Middle Ages. So I know I don't normally read blurbs, but I thought that that was so beautiful and definitely applicable for the upcoming readathon. Next is probably one of the most beautiful books I own. This was actually given to me by my brother, and again, I haven't had a chance to read through the whole thing because there are a lot in here. There's probably, I don't know, probably over 100 stories in here, but this is Grimm's Complete Fairy Tale Collection, and this is the Barnes and Noble edition, and as you can see, it's just absolutely beautiful. It's the front, the spine, I love the back. back is I almost like the back better than the front. This would be a great book to have on hand for the readathon because, again, it's the Grimm's collections and it's definitely a beautiful edition to own. And the last two books I wanted to talk about were books I studied in college. Shh, don't ask how long that's been, but I remember thinking that this person was really educated and very well versed in myth and mythology, and I had to mention them, and that is Joseph Campbell. This first book is The Power of Myth, and the other one I wanted to mention just quickly was The Hero with 1,000 Faces. So if you're interested in more about myth and mythology, I took an entire course in college on that. It's one of my favorite topics, of course. Here we are with the Fairytale Readathon. So I highly recommend Joseph Campbell if you're interested in learning more about myth and how it originated and how it affects today's society. Those are all the recommendations I had for you today. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I want to thank each and every one of my subscribers for taking the time out of their day to join me every time that you do. You can see my little kitty here, and that's Buster. But if you'd like what you had to see, please go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. You can also hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos. I do love meeting people that enjoy the same things I do. So if you'd like to, please go ahead and feel free to friend me on Goodreads or follow me on Twitter. I'll leave the information down below in the comment box. So please let me know if you've read any of these, if you loved them. We can definitely get into a conversation about that. Thanks so much for being here with me today. Farewell for now. Bye-bye.